Hello.
Okay, yes.
Hello.
Hello.
Are you hearing me now?
Yes.
Finally, finally, bro.
Is it clear now?
Yeah. Much more
Okay.
better.
Much better, right?
Yes.
All right. Good afternoon. Good morning. Good evening, wherever you are. You're welcome to this breakout session of the conference AcE-Bs2021 at KotaBharu. Now we have breakout session 6. Are the presenters here? We have 6 papers in this session. And I think the first one is COE001. It's titled Usage of Standard Measurement. Standard Method of Measurement, Human Behavior AcE-Bs. Is the presenter here? Every presenter will have 10 minutes to present, and then 5 minutes for question and answers, and 5 minutes of questions and answers from the audience. So please, we want the audience to be attentive. We also want to have robust discussions on each of the papers. Can we have the presenter for the first paper? Please, let's keep to the 10 minutes. Thank you. Can you share, do you want to share screen?
Yes, I am.
Okay, great. All right. You can start.
Okay, Assalamualaikum and a very good afternoon to all participants and panels. Today I will present my team to present our research paper on the exploration of the usage of standard method of measurement disclosed on the human behavior issues. Okay. Before we go further, I would like to define what is SMM. SMM is a reference document which has been localized to fulfill Malaysian local practices. It's created to determine the customary and standardization technique of measurement. It allows consistencies in describing and measuring. It also will serve as a basis in producing a good bill of quantity. Okay. In other words, in producing a good BQ, SMM is needed. Okay, the association between SMM and BQ has been clarified in this figure. Okay, it illustrates the importance of SMMs towards a practitioner's rules and activities in both traditional and non-traditional procurement system. Okay, it shows unequivocally of the quantity surveyor or QS use SMM to standardize the process of producing measurement for buildings and civil engineer work in producing a BQ as part of procurement and contract documentation. Okay. These rules and activity are conducted during pre-contract stage. One of the significant sector contributing the growth of Malaysia's economic sector is the construction industry. Therefore, there is an urgent need within the industry to implement standardizations of construction information and document to guarantee the development of the industry. Okay. According to Abdul Rashid 2020, the existence of nature of the construction industry operated through the separation and fragmentation of the various organizations. Therefore, information becomes an essential contribution to minimize the effect of separations and fragmentation of the various key players in the construction industry. Okay. In Malaysia, standard method of measurement is used to produce a good BQ used in a project as a part of contract documentation. Okay. Meanwhile, in the perspective of Islamic, Abu Rashid touched on the existence of elements of gara or uncertainty in contract document, which is inconsistent with the Sharia, Sharia. Okay, based on the study done by them, the application of gara elements seem insufficient to secure the interest of the contracting parties. Okay, then they discuss the validity of an istisna in the contract, which will be achieved by knowing the nature, quality, quantity, and the description of the asset to be manufactured known before entering into the contract. Okay. It seems that satisfaction the state condition can be fixed using BQs. Therefore, to produce BQ that apply istisna requirement, a standard document is needed. Okay. Next, the discussion above portray the importance of BQ to be underpinned by one standard document in preparing a BQ that will form a part of the procurement or contract document. The problem is, although the SMM is becoming more important in preparing BQ, there are still barriers to its use and adoption. Therefore, this study will attempt to investigate the current use of Malaysian standard methods of measurement for civil engineering in Malaysia construction industry and its relations towards human behavior in adopting Malaysia's current SMM. Okay. Okay, next, we proceed with the literature review. The first one is on the development of Malaysia's standard method of measurement. Okay, the table summarizes the development of SMM during the last 3 decades in Malaysia's construction industry. As referred to the table, Malaysia is attempting to fulfill the need of Malaysian construction industry by developing new SMM for both buildings and civil engineering work. Okay, sorry. Okay, as shown in the table, the most recent SMM released for building work is My SMM 2020. Okay, meanwhile for civil engineering is My CE SMM 2. Okay, however, there has been study conducted by Malaysian researchers since 2012 until 2018 demonstrate the continuous various use of various kind of SMMs. Surprisingly, the research also found that some of the respondents created their own internal SMM when preparing a BQ. Okay. Nizam Akbar 2018 proposed a framework in remodeling the new Malaysian standard method of measurement. However, the newly developed SMM, which is My SMM 2020 and My CE SMM 2, may not related to the framework since they simultaneously created. Okay? As a result, it's necessary to conduct this study before the researchers continue their works on Malaysian standard method of measurements most recent document, which is My SMM 2020 and My CE SM 2. Okay. Okay, next, we proceed with the Malaysian SMM usage behavior as referred to the finding gained by Nizam 2014. There is total number of 25 participants face-to-face interview, okay, conducted among the selected key players from the client, consultant, and contractor organizations. Okay, the result of the study is found that 75% of the consultants use SMM1, which is outdated SMM, in measuring building works. Meanwhile, SMM2...
Excuse me, Anis, you have
yes?
3 minutes more.
Okay.
3 minutes.
Okay. So this is the study done by the Nizam Akbar showing that there is need on researching the use of SMM in Malaysian standard method of measurement. Okay. This is the issues of the issues that hinder the usage of current Malaysian SMM, which is collected through the literature review. And then this is the methodology being used for this research, whereby we use 2 methods, which is questionnaire survey and expert interview. Questionnaire survey is distributed through online, focus on QS consultant firm only, and focus on Selangor. and the population is 415, and the response rate is 75%. Expert interview consists of 6 experts from academic and the industry. Okay, is the first function of having expert interview is to reconfirm the result gained from the questionnaire survey. Okay, this is the result of the respondent profile. Okay, and this one is the frequency of SMM used in preparing civil engineering works BQs. Okay, there is 65% still using SMM2, and then only 40% of the respondent use the most current SMM, which is my CESM2. Okay, this is the means and mode value on the issues identified hinder the usage of current Malaysian standard methods of measurement based on respondent rates and expert rates. There is different means value. Approximately, there is the range of the mean value is 3.24 until 3.59. But unless for this one, unaware on the benefit of SMM, the expert panel claim that they are not agree that unaware on the benefit of FMM is the most highest ranking to become an issue that hinder the usage too, because to them lack of regulatory bodies for standard enforcement is the most critical issues that we have to cater. Okay. Okay, wait, yeah. Okay, last. Okay, this is the ranking by the expert interview. Okay, okay, against all listed factor above support by research done by Nizam Akbar, the discussion above conducted that although the government body produce the most current SMM, the end user still does not fully utilize the document. It is because human behavior is unwilling to change and take a long time to change when they are not getting any physical or material intensive. Therefore, for me, mandatory, the document should be one of the solutions to be applied to those documents. But still, the document themselves needs to go through intensive desk study, taking care of the various perspectives. Okay? Last but not least, the finding of this paper serves as starting point of refreshing and illustrating the real world challenges confronting Malaysia's standard methods of measurement before planning to the next action courses. The finding demonstrate the presence of the outdated SMM still being used in producing a critical document, which is BQ, that will form a part of the procurement or contract that bind parties in the industry. Okay. The findings significantly adds the relevance and diversity of the study because the research proceed further on before the researcher proceed further on the issue related to the most current and Malaysian standard method of measurement, which is MICE SMM 2020 and MICE CESMM 2. Okay. Last but not least, okay, developing an acceptable standard document is a big challenge coupled with the human behavior that is unwilling to change and etc. actually add burden to the government bodies. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Anis, for that passionate presentation. Obviously, because you're the first presenter, the time limitation must have affected you so much. Sorry about that.
Okay.
Talking about SMMs, obviously SMMs apply very well when you have the separation of and fragmentation of the industry. That's the traditional method, you know, where the quantity surveyor will do a separate job after the design. I just want to know, you know, in many industries, many places around the world, sometimes engineers are expected to cost their own works, and architects also cost their own works. What's the situation in the Malaysian industry? Do quantity surveyors cost also engineering works?
For engineering work, actually, when the real world, the engineer actually will give the costing to the QS, but we as a QS have to check whether the costing is appropriate or not. So we need the standard in order for us to having a equally measured, describing, and quantified. Okay, that's why we need the SMM.
Okay, so it's actually that you, in this case of structural works or civil works, you actually check using the SMM. All right, I understand that now.
Actually, not using SMM, because SMM is a guideline. So when the people are not following the guidelines, it's difficult for us to make sure that the works is appropriately described according to the standard.
Okay, that the work is appropriately described according to standards.
Yes.
Other contributors, do you have questions for her on this presentation? So what's your major finding on this in respect to this research? What will you say is your most significant finding?
Actually, human behavior is unwilling to change. What the method the government done, they're unwilling to change. They don't want to change their way, their practices, but by mandatory the document will help actually. They are forced to use.
Okay, by legislation.
Yes.
Okay. I hope it's not also a question of available resources, also to the quantity surveyors, and then the availability of the new versions of SMM. Could that be an issue too? The availability of the new versions of SMM, could it have been affecting the adoption, the change in behavior to use the newer ones, newer versions?
New version of SMM has been launched actually. And then I'm conducting this research and I discover that they are not fully utilized by the key players.
All right. Do we have any questions for her or contributions from the audience on this presentation? Yes, the finding is significant. People are not willing to change, and you're suggesting legislation. Okay. Are there ways in which they can be persuaded, not only by legislation? You know that sometimes when laws are made, they can become unenforceable, like the lawyers will say, when especially when it is against what human beings really want to do. If there were ways of encouraging them, not just legislating alone, I guess we can also think about that. Maybe give them some give benefits. People some benefit or something that will appeal to human beings, maybe to their conscience or materially speaking. Like you mentioned in your presentation, that if people don't have anything to gain materially from using something, they might not use it. So you can think about some recommendation in that direction, maybe as part of your paper.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other contributions? Where is your, is there an international collaborator on this paper?
No, I don't have.
Okay. I was going to say that we ask your international collaborator to also make one or two comments. but it's okay. So if there are no other questions or contributions, I think we better move to the next presentation, which is DCE 001. So thank you very much for, thank you very much, Anis. You can stop sharing your screen now. Let's take DCE 002. That's pathway network design as natural surveillance strategy of safe green roof environment for the public. We have,
Yes,
okay, is someone there?
Yep. That's me, Aslan. Sorry.
Oh, okay, Aslan is there
Yep.
to present
Yep.
DCE 002. You have 10 minutes. Are you the only one presenting?
I'm the only one presenting. Yeah.
Oh, okay, is your international collaborator available?
Unfortunately, he's not be able to join today. So yeah.
Okay, won't be able to join today. No problem. You can go
Mhm.
ahead. You have 10
Okay, all right.
minutes.
Okay, does everyone can see my screen?
Okay.
Yes.
Yes, we
All
can
right.
see your screen. You can
Okay.
go ahead.
Okay, sure. Assalamualaikum. Good morning and good evening, everyone. So today I'll be presenting on pathway network design as natural surveillance strategy of safe green roof environment for public. So our research team are made up of 4 people, which is me, Aslan Arif bin Ali Arif, as the main author, joined by Dr. Emma Marini Ahmad Zawawi and Dr. Julita Yunus. 3 of us are from Faculty of Architecture, Planning and Surveying, UiTM Shah Alam, and joining us as international co-author is Dr. Roger Edwards from University of Manchester, United Kingdom. So the research is initiated by concerning the position of the green roof, which is on rooftop, which is located away from the public view, which has a higher chances of being a crime-prone area. So green roof with less public engagement give a sense of unwelcoming. So without working surveillance, the rate of crime surrounding the green roof would increase. In contrary to that, we already have a successful project in Singapore, which is Marina Barrage, that has proven that green roof could generate a large number of crowd and people could be enjoying their recreational activity within a safe environment. So why can't we implement the same strategy in our Malaysian green roof? So the aim and objective of the research is to investigate the relationship between the design layout of green roof pathway with high traffic intensity in improving safety and surveillance aspect that would later become the foundation in providing guidelines towards highly accessible green roof. It follows with the objective, which is to identify the typical green roof pathway design layout with the most intersection nodes. Besides that, we also need to define which green roof design layout that has the highest traffic density. So for introduction, green roof has widely accepted all around the world as a recreational use, especially in city area where we are shrinking in terms of green space for recreational use. But in Malaysia, most of our green roof are not allowing people to access the green roof, despite of being the main functional of building intended for public use. So as you can see, these are the 6 prominent building samples in Malaysia. So most of them doesn't really permit public access onto the green roof. So it has something to be with the type of the layout, which is the grid, parameter, radial, centralized, linear, diagonal, which later on will be assessing one by one. So functional accessible green roof for public should put public safety as the main priority. So part of ensuring public safety is to establish working surveillance to ensure that no one is vulnerable to crime. So for literature review, we go through the natural surveillance in public space as general. So places with high pedestrian traffic gives a sense of safety where help is all around whenever a crime occurs. So But in contrast to that, when we deliberately place a security team, it invokes a sense of discomfort. You'll be feeling being watched over, and that invades people's privacy. So in alternative to that, we could adopt natural surveillance by having a clear view and strategic entrance points that invoke a sense of safety in the environment. So natural surveillance strategy could benefit from the high public engagement that provides indirect monitoring for crime watch. So as you can see in one of the project in Malaysia, which is Bulatan Aman Jaya, is a roundabout with a public park in it at the center. So it has become the focus view where people being safe despite carrying out recreational activity at night. So the application of pathway design in natural surveillance strategy of green roof, pathway design with shorter distance increases public mobility, so people could walk easily, relax, and feel safe. Public engagement depends on the connectivity of the path, where a path with more intersection creates more traffic concentration. So this, in conclusion, would activate natural surveillance. So the application of space syntax in natural surveillance strategy of green roof. So as you can see, space syntax is a popular tool that being used in urban studies. So as you can see in the coloration, different networks of the street are defined by the coloration. So the red coloration signifies the high density traffic, and the cooler hues of the road coverage signifies the lesser crowd engagement. So this definition is applicable in assessing the connectivity of pathway of the green roof that takes into consideration placement of nodes with high traffic concentration to establish natural surveillance on the green roof. So this one is on the macro scale, which is urban. So we are going on to the micro scale, which is the green roof. So the methodology that adapted in this research is the space syntax itself as a spatial analysis. So base pathway layout of the green roof is formulated with the same sizes. So they will be constant, and then it is converted to the axial lines for the space syntax to take place. So the result from the space syntax is the graph analysis. So this presentation gives a more straightforward overview without having to analyze the raw data in the form of elaborated tables and complicated calculations. So the finding is, as shown in table 2, the radial layout consists of the most number of axial lines, yes, at 12, while the centralized layout has the highest nodes count. But despite having the most number of axial lines, the coloration intensity shown in radial layout, which is the third one, comparatively similar to the perimeter layout, which only has 4 axial lines. On another note, as an overview, the number of axial lines and the number of nodes are not the dominant factors in determining the rate of traffic engagement. On another note, diagonal pathway design shows the overall highest traffic concentration compared to other layout, as evident in the red coloration. So the finding extends to another aspect of discussion, which observe the impact of nodes configuration and overlapping axial lines on the public engagement. So the illustration of the primal graph for each pathway design, as shown in figure 7 above, provides a better understanding of the relationship between nodes, this one, axial line and intersecting points. So primal graph translate the samples in a comprehensive illustration where nodes represent intersecting points while edges define pathway itself. So the numbered points are the translation of axial lines, where one point could become the meeting point of several other points, or one point could connect multiple points. So pathway layout with low traffic concentration, which indicated in blue coded maps, shows there is no overlapping lines when converted to primal graph. So as you can see, the relationship between the perimeter layout and the primal graph. This one also, the linear layout and the primal graph or the linear layout. There is no overlapping line. Centralized layout and linear layout suggest that the length of the route has substantial influence on the traffic concentration, supporting the theory that pathway design with a shorter distance increases public mobility. Compared to the rest of the pathway layout, the diagonal layout shows
Yeah,
an outstanding
sorry.
result in
Oh,
traffic concentration.
excuse me, Aslan, you only
Sorry?
have 2 minutes more.
Okay, sure. All right.
You only
So
2
we'll
minutes.
All right, sure. So we'll move on to the analysis of more focus towards the diagonal layout. So compared to linear pathway design, the most extended lines in the diagonal layout shows the highest traffic intensity compared to other lines. However, both the linear pathway design and diagonal pathway design shares the same strategy that allows traffic concentration, which are closely located nodes, as you can see. With the diagonal pathway design, more lines would overlap with each other, creating more nodes located close to each other, as shown in figure 6a, that answers the chances of making more crowd engagement in this area. Concerning the natural surveillance, such layout that garners high traffic concentration within a focus area could establish a safe environment. So in conclusion, pathway layout design is important in ensuring the public safety on a green roof to function as a highly accessible public ramp. Higher public accessibility introduces more traffic engagement that establish natural surveillance that creates a safe environment for public to enjoy. Through the graph analysis generated by Space Intact, it is found that diagonal pathway design shows the highest traffic intensity, which we can see from the high coloration of red-coded maps with supported by the primer graph, which has a wide network of overlapping lines, suggesting the higher chances of crowd concentration. The nature of diagonal layout satisfy the critical aspect that garner high traffic concentration towards the highly accessible green roof, which are short distance, more intersecting points, and closeness placement of nodes that increases the chances of public engagement. So this supports the statement by Nordin and Nakamura and validates the soundness of Space Intact as a recommended tool in assessing human traffic behavior in spatial analysis. Space Intact as a methodology helps to simplify the overall computer analysis, which eliminates the needs to understand the elaborated and complicated analytics into the graphical translation, which we can see from the coloration, as a form of visual communication. So this methodology suits the nature of the study to determine the pathway design layout that has comparatively high crowd engagement. So for future recommendation, this study could extend to the assessment of green roof layout using convex space, which is another function in Space Intact, and different variation of layout design which can be formed with combination of 2 or more layouts. So that's all from me. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Ashland, for that presentation on the green roof. You can still continue to share your screen. We may want to make reference to it. Do we have questions for Ashland or comments for him? Immediate questions or comments? All right, Ashland, I noticed that, of course, your research is based on using a natural surveillance strategy, as and using space syntax analysis.
Yep.
You did modeling and simulation.
Yes, it is a simulation type.
All right. Is if you decided to use like a real life observation of real life observation rather than simulation or modeling, do you think it's possible that the same results will be arrived at?
So in Malaysia, we are not gathering much crowd onto the green roof. So even some green roofs does not permit public access at all. So that might not be possible to some prominent green roof in Malaysia. But we can still consider if there is any changes in the policy that allow people to access the green roof, then it would be more possible.
Okay, so if you have more case studies of accessible green roofs in Malaysia, then that may become possible.
Yes,
If,
that will be possible.
okay, did you do something about why people don't allow access to the green roofs? Why do people have green roofs and limit access to it? Are there
I
other
see.
functions? Mm.
Okay. Usually, okay, that's on another discussion of the topic. But part of it, yes, I have studied the why the policy doesn't allow people to get on top of the green roof. Firstly, green roof requires high maintenance that sometimes could creates substantial damage in the financial maintenance of the building. So by allowing people onto the green roof, there are some ethical issues that people with reckless behavior, and then people will be throwing, having some vandalism. So that would add to another requirement to maintain the building. On another one, yep. Another one is the maintenance of the landscaping of the green roof itself. Yeah.
Okay, okay. So why do they actually put it in spite of this? In spite
Okay.
of these issues? Is it because
In
of the
Malaysia,
climate or something?
yes, climate surprisingly has the theoretical improvement where the spaces beneath the green roof is said to be lower by 3 Celsius. It can cool down the building, but that's the theoretical. On the execution part, green roof, is regarded as a building feature. In Malaysia, we have a green building index. So by having green roof, it pays back the land that has been taken by the building. So it contributed to the high score of the green building index in overall
Oh,
building performance certification. Yep.
all right, all right, all right. Then the other thing is, I know this research is based on natural surveillance.
Yep. Yep.
Is there a possibility also of technological surveillance? I mean,
Possible. Yep.
I know that your argument here is that natural surveillance, allowing people onto it, gives a psychological effect of safety in a way.
Mhm.
Do you think technological surveillance might have the
Okay.
same effect, or
Oh, okay.
awareness of technological surveillance?
Okay, the concern of the deliberate placement of the security is on the user itself. So when we allow green roof as a public space, we have to understand the behavior of the people. As long as people are comfortable with it, they are not feeling being watched over by the surveillance, or they do not realize there is a surveillance working on the green roof. I think that will be fine, and that could be the extension of another study for this topic. Yep.
Okay, fantastic. So the audience, Aslan's presentation is before you. Do you have any contributions or questions for him? So, okay. So Aslan, what is the next level in this research for you?
Okay, the next level is to have the combination of few different layout that could be combined, that could create some complexity in the green roof design. So that could be becomes the formulation for further building simulation for this topic. Yep.
Okay, okay, okay. Your international collaborator is not available?
Yep. Unfortunately, he's not be able to join today. Yeah.
Okay, okay. So thank you very much for that interesting presentation that focuses on allowing nature to better the life of human beings and how to make people safe on green roofs. And it also contributes to one of the sustainable or not one, at least a few of the Sustainable Development Goals. Did you relate your paper to Sustainable Development Goals?
So far, I'm not including the sustainable goal, but if there is consideration on one that could be added into the study, yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. All right, thank you for the presentation.
All
I
right,
think
thank
we
you.
will.
My pleasure.
Yes, so we'll move to the next presenter. The next paper, which is DCE004, Passive Daylighting Design Strategies of Colonial Mosques in Malaysia. Is the presenter there?
Yes, yes.
All right, thank you. Who is presenting today?
I will be presenting.
What's the name?
I'm Dr. Alia Narzafira Sanusi from IAUM.
Okay, Dr. Alia, you're welcome. You have 10 minutes.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Emmanuel.
You're
Can you
welcome.
see my screen?
Yes, your screen is. Can you make it full screen so we don't see your?
Okay.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Emmanuel, for the introduction, and also everyone for being here. Today, I'm going to present on behalf of my colleagues, three from IUM, International Islamic University Malaysia, me, myself, Dr. Alia, Dr. Fazida, and Ahmad Faisal, and also another co-author from Prince Mugrin Abdul Aziz University, Saudi Arabia, Dr. Rosniza Uthman. Our topic for today is passive daylighting design strategies of colonial mosques in Malaysia. There are 5 topics in this presentation. I will start with introduction, literature review, methodology, finding, and the conclusion. Okay. A mosque, as everyone is aware, is a place for Muslims to perform their congregational prayers, religious education, and other Islamic activities. It needs an optimum level of lighting for the occupiers to perform religious activities, and it does not need excessive artificial lighting nor unnecessary energy consumption. Hence, this study evaluates the passive daylight strategies of colonial mosques in Malaysia and its daylighting performance. The 3 colonial mosques were selected as case studies for this study, which is Ubudiyah Royal Mosque in Perak, Pasir Pelangi Royal Mosque in Johor, and Sultan Ibrahim Jami' Mosque in Johor. And using readily available daylighting is considered as one of the passive design strategies according to Malaysian standards, MS 1525-2014. And according to Al-Ashwal and Hassan, daylight can be also considered as renewable energy and free of charge. Daylighting is a terminology to describe the utilization of natural light to illuminate the living space inside buildings. What is the significance of this research? The main significance is to keep track with the United Nations Agenda 2030 and its 17 Sustainable Development Goals. So for this research, there are three. It relates to 3 Sustainable Development Goals, which is affordable and clean energy, which consume affordable and clean energy from natural resources such as the sun for natural daylighting, and SDG 11, which is sustainable cities and communities, conservation of colonial or heritage buildings for sustainable cities, and also responsible consumption and production, responsible to sustain heritage buildings and reduce wastage and materials consumption. There are 2 objectives for this study. The first one is to identify what is the passive daylight strategies that we can learn from the selected colonial mosques. And the second one is to evaluate the daylight performance of the main prayer halls in the 3 colonial mosques. Colonial buildings are buildings that were built during the British occupancy. Okay, we have many types of buildings built during the British occupancy, which are the colonial shophouses, colonial schools, impera, and also colonial mosques. They are designed and supervised by British architects who were working in the Public Works Department, JKR. The designers intended to portray Islamic images onto most of the mosques, combining Moorish architecture with classical architecture. So they have the common features, which are onion or top-shaped domes, classical columns, pilasters, verandas, and pointed arches. According to this is our co-author from Saudi Arabia. She did a study on mosque design published in 2011. The identification of mosques was, it has a list of historical mosques from 1728 up to 1956. We have a traditional or vernacular and colonial built mosques, and then we have post-independent mosques and contemporary mosques built from 1956 to 2000. So these are the chronology of the mosques, of the colonial mosques, which started from the 1808 onto the 1956. And for this study, we will focus on the 3 mosques, which is the Ubudiyah Mosque in Perak, built in 1912, the Pasir Pelangi Royal Mosque in Johor, built in 1920, and the Jami' Mosque Johor built in 1925. Most of these buildings are slightly 100 years old. Okay, next I will move on to the literature review of Malaysia climate. Malaysia climate is categorized as equatorial. It has hot and humid throughout the year. We receive 12 hours of sunlight every day, and buildings in Malaysia should avoid direct sunlight from the east and west direction. So this is the stereographic chart for Malaysia. So we have a sun on the top of our head with a bit slightly to the north in June and slightly to the south in January. So during the equinox in April, we have a 90-degree of sun above our head. And during the summer solstice, which is in June, in July, we have sun angles slightly to the north, tilted to the north. And during the winter solstice, which is in December and January, the sun is tilted slightly to the south, but not so much. So, okay, so visual comfort is the condition of the optical performance of indoor environment quality in a good performance and free from any distraction, which is glare. Diffuse light is practically used in passive daylighting, which could avoid the glare from direct sunlight. Passive daylighting strategies respond to the climatic context in order to achieve visual comfort. What is passive daylight strategies? First is the space orientation and configuration.
Excuse me, Dr. Aliyah.
Yes?
You have 3 minutes more.
Oh my, okay. I'll try to speed up. Okay, so the second strategy will be the opening properties, and then the surface properties, shading elements, openings at dome level, and window to wall ratio. And this is one of the, it's from Malaysian standards. It's a guideline for daylight measures in daylight factor. So we had illuminance this morning. For my study, I used daylight factor. And these are the guidelines for acceptable value. And another one is spatial daylight autonomy. Okay, in short, it's called SDA. So I will study the 2 levels of lighting in this study, in the 3 mosques. So the methodology consists of, it answers the objective number 1 and 2. So it consists of literature review, observation, and also daylight simulation on daylight factor and spatial daylight autonomy. And the finding analysis will be discussed, and conclusion will answer the 2 objectives. So these are the 3 mosques. all of them are facing, has the same orientation due to our Qiblat. We pray towards the northwest. So the simulation software that's been used is Sapphira. And in the software, we key in the location of the mosque accurately according to the longitude and latitude to get the accurate sun angle of throughout the year. And these are the models drawn on Sapphira, all orientated appropriately. Okay, as you can see, the floor plans are all all similar, they have the same orientation because of the Qibla. And these are the findings. You can see this is the inside the main prayer hall from the observation. And we have the plans and section here. And in this, in the hall, you can see that there is daylight at the bottom of the hall, main prayer hall, and also at the upper level. In here, this is the second mosque, Pasir Pelangi Royal Mosque. It has daylighting only at the, originally, as you can see here, it has a daylighting at the top, upper level, but it has been closed by an extended roof. It overhangs and close the original window here. So it only gets the lighting from the bottom part. And this is the third mosque, Sultan Ibrahim Jami, which has a daylighting from the bottom and the top. And we have a window to wall ratio 16 for the first mosque, Ubudiyah Royal Mosque is 16.34, and a slightly higher Pasir Pelangi Royal Mosque. This is actually the percentage of the original windows, so it should be lower than 28.3%. And this one is the third one has a quite low window to wall ratio. Okay, and this is the average daylight factor of the main prayer hall on the Ubudiyah Royal Mosque, which is a 0.9%, which is like almost acceptable. If you round it up to 1%, then it can be considered as acceptable, whereas in the veranda area is quite acceptable. But for the Pasir Pelangi Royal Mosque, it's quite low. Mainly because of the new renovation of the extended roof that covers all the upper level windows, and the daylight factor goes down to 0.35%, whereas the veranda area is quite acceptable. And then the third mosque also has a low daylight factor. This is perhaps due to the deep, larger area of the main prayer hall as compared to the first mosque, Ubudiyah Mosque. And then it has but the veranda is quite acceptable, 1.53. So this is the average, the summary of daylight factor. You can see that Ubudiyah Royal Mosque has an acceptable daylight factor even in the main prayer hall as compared to the other two mosques. Okay, all right, so that's another one is a special daylight anatomy. This is another daylight measures. So for the first mosque, it's quite acceptable because the minimum is 55%. So the main prayer hall is 61%, and also the veranda is also acceptable. The second mosque has a very, very low SDA, 7%. And then the veranda has a acceptable level. And the third mosque also has a very, very low percentage of SDA in the main prayer hall, 5%. And sorry about that. Okay, so as I said just now, the 55% is the acceptable minimum SDA level. And you can see here the Ubudiyah Mosque is quite acceptable. As you can see, it has a high percentage. Okay, and this is the...
Let's go to your conclusion now.
Conclusion, okay. All right, okay. So the conclusion is there are 6 passive daylighting design strategies that should be considered while designing the openings of the colonial mosque for daylighting purposes. They are the opening properties, the orientation, of course, the surface properties, the shading elements, window to wall ratio, and I would like to add another one is the clerestory windows. And then clerestory windows or windows near the roof or dome area are suitable to allow daylight into the prayer hall but prevent glare from entering the prayer hall area. And the daylight factor of Ubudiyah Mosque main praying hall is 0.91, which is acceptable, partly because of the windows at the roof level. And also the SDA level is also acceptable for Ubudiyah Royal Mosque, which is 61% above the minimum range. And the correlation between the celestial window size and floor area is quite significant. So the contribution of this research is this study has contributed to the knowledge of building facade design, in particular mosque facade design. The findings from this study have shown the significant impact and benefits of clerestory openings in allowing passive daylight into indoor spaces. So I would like to recommend for future research to further study on the clerestory window design and its impact to passive daylighting on indoor spaces. Studies on occupancy satisfactory survey and correlate the analysis data with occupancy satisfactory survey. That's all from us. Thank you for your attention, and we can be contacted through the emails in the paper. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. You spent 14 minutes or almost 15. All right.
Okay.
Is your international collaborator here?
I'm sorry, she has been trying to connect, but she has problem with the connection from Saudi Arabia. So she conveyed her apology.
All right. All right. Thank you very much. Are there any questions for her or contributions? I was going to say that you did not discuss the architectural styles of that period between 1917 and 1927, where we are not sure whether the buildings actually belong to the same generation in terms of style. What
Yes,
would you say about that?
Actually, it's in the slide. Let me show you the slide again. In the chronology.
Okay. I know.
Here.
I know. Okay.
It's all built by the British, and it has the dome and the veranda. The British actually, if you look at the plan, you can see that the main prayer hall is actually protected from daylight with the veranda. So they are surrounded by veranda, which protects the solar into the main prayer hall. So that's why they introduced the upper level opening, near the roof openings, to allow the sunlight to make it brighter. If not, it will be, because of its deep planning, so it has quite dark. Without the upper window, it will be quite dark. So
all right. Yeah. All right. Like you rightly suggested at the conclusion.
Yes, I have.
This kind of simulation has to be correlated with users, with users' perception of daylighting. When you are when you correlate, then we are able to know whether the perception of people, goes together along with your simulation. I think that that's necessary. And then you have a wall to fenestration ratio.
Yes.
What is not very clear is the height to depth ratio. You understand? Because for you to be able to make recommendations that are really all-embracing, you need to relate the height, the ceiling height, floor to ceiling height, to the depth away from the window.
Oh yes,
of course,
the rule of
course.
thumb.
Yes, of course, your simulation will have taken care of that. But in terms of real figures, maybe if you are going to make recommendations for as input to planning legislation, you need to be able to really relate those heights to the depths that are necessary. Yes, yes.
Yes, I understand.
I think that would be very good for recommendations for legislation. Yes.
I have the figures in the observation, but yeah, I can add that to the paper. Thank you for that. Actually, it relates to the rule of thumb of the theory of lighting. Yeah.
From the audience, are there any comments for Dr. Aliyah?
May I ask questions, Prof. Emmanuel?
Okay. Okay.
Hi, Dr. Amelia. Dr. Aliyah, I think this is a very interesting presentation, but I'm not from your area. But my question is, because you shared the design from a certain era, what do you think about the latest design that they had developed recently? Because I can see there's a lot of a difference. Is perhaps is too modernized. It did not actually have certain values that actually been promoted earlier. And what do you think about the design in terms of the weather, the temperature? Because these days, because of the global warming and so on, what's the impact on the construction or design of mosques?
Actually, I've been to some of the, thank you, Dr. Rohana, for your question. I've been to some of the modern mosques, starting from, the mosque in Bandar Sri Damansara. It has, most of the mosques did take into consideration of the, it's called the veranda area, where they actually consider that as the overspill area. And it actually relates to the way that the main praying area is protected from the direct solar. So it's a win-win situation. I think at the first glance, of course, you don't see the dome or if you want to compare the first glance to the vernacular mosque, it looks different. But if you go into the spaces, you actually find these elements and also how they penetrate the daylight. Like for example, the mosque in Putrajaya, they have the overspill area, and at the same time, they allow diffuse light into the spaces. So I think these modern mosques, they do consider the experience inside the mosque, even they don't put on the dome or because in IUM also we teach the student to about the value of Islamic values is not only on the look of the building, is actually the connection with the environment, the connectivity with the experience.
All right, thank you. Sorry, your audio is are you hearing me? Hello? Hello? Aliyah.
She's losing her connection.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay. Thank you very much, Natalia. Very interesting.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
I lost the connection.
Yes,
Thank you.
I think that the point that's been made is that you don't have to, well, this is on passive lighting. You might take your next research to the total indoor environmental quality. That is not just in terms of lighting alone, but in terms of temperature, humidity, and then how the human being actually feels in it. You know, these days, I'm sure there are mosques that don't have just natural ventilation, lighting, and the likes. They may even be air conditioned. So I don't know what challenge the kind of research that you want to do when you want to compare the modern, the contemporary, and then the old during the colonial times. I guess that's the challenge that Dr. Ruhana was trying to point out to you about contemporary mosques. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So let's have the next presentation, which is LM001. Thank you, Dr. Aliyah, you can stop sharing your screen now so that we take the next presentation, recovery of corrupt assets via unexplained wealth order. That's LM001. Is the presenter here?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me, Prof?
Yes, I can hear you clearly.
Okay, all right. Let me share my screen. Thank you.
Yes. What's the name, please?
My name is Nur Aslina Abdul Rauf.
Okay, you're welcome. You have 10 minutes.
Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes, your screen is very clear.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh, and good evening, good morning, everyone. Good day. I'm Nur Aslina Abdul Rauf. I'll be presenting a paper entitled Recovery of Corrupt Assets via Unexplained Wealth Order. My co-authors are Dr. Nur Aslina Abdul Aziz and Dr. Nur Asani Abdul Rauf. I apologize, both are not here, because Dr. Nur Aslina, she has an appointment, vaccine appointment, and Dr. Nur Asani, it is 5 a.m. in Boston right now. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Let's look at the outline. Okay. So I will look at the research background, and then the research methodology, the legal framework, the analysis, findings, recommendations, and then conclusion. Okay. Let us look at the research background. Okay. We will look at, you can see at the Roman, the one in Roman 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, first, corruption. All right, so what is corruption? Corruption is defined by the Transparency International as the abuse of entrusted power for private gain. So we have an example of a Malaysian case, public prosecutor versus Datuk Haji Harun bin Haji Idris, where the word corrupt was defined as doing an act knowing that the act done is wrong, doing so with evil feelings and evil intentions, and purposely doing an act which the law forbids. Okay, so corruption is damaging to a country because decisions are taken not for the public benefit but to serve private interests. Okay, so recovery of process of corruption is important because it will deprive the corrupt of the gains they got from the corruption. Okay, now we look at the position of Malaysia. Malaysia has in place civil and criminal mechanism to curtail corruption. We can see one example for criminal mechanism in the form of Section 17 capital A of the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission Act 2009, where commercial organizations will be liable when their associates involved in corrupt actions to benefit the commercial organizations, and if convicted, the penalty is a fine not less than 10 times the value of the bribe or 1 million, whichever is higher. And the top management also will face imprisonment of up to 20 years. All right. So as regards the civil mechanism, we have civil forfeiture. All right. So examples, we have two statutes. The first one is Section 41, in MACC Act also, Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission Act, and the other one we have Section 56 of the Anti-Money Laundering, Anti-Terrorism Financing and Proceeds of Unlawful Activities Act 2001, where the objectives include providing for forfeiture of assets and proceeds derived from the corrupt acts. Okay, all right. Now, when we look at Malaysia and the unexplained wealth order, there was an indication in 2018 that Malaysia is reviewing, okay, another civil mechanism in the form of unexplained wealth order as implemented in the United Kingdom to further strengthen the law on recovery of proceeds of crime, which includes corruption. Okay, so in UK, the unexplained wealth order was introduced on 27 April 2017 and enforced on 31st January 2018 to tackle the problem of enforcement of civil recovery order. Okay, so here the application of civil forfeiture was limited to exceptional cases where the prospect of criminal prosecution was not available. It didn't help in the most difficult cases where concrete evidence was very hard to obtain. Okay, so the purpose of the study is therefore to examine the application of the unexplained wealth order in the United Kingdom to determine its viability from the Malaysian perspective. From the examination, it is expected to discover the concept of the unexplained wealth order and unravel its worthiness as one of the mechanisms of asset recovery of proceeds of corruption. Okay, so as regards to research methodology, this study adopts qualitative methodology based on doctrinal
Excuse
studies
me,
supported by the opinion
Dr.
of an academician.
Abdurrauf,
Yes,
excuse me,
yes.
you have spent almost 5 minutes.
Okay, okay.
So you have 5 minutes more.
All right. So the doctrinal study comprises primary and secondary sources as well as an opinion from an academician in the United Kingdom. Okay. So when we look at the legal framework, we need to see that recovering the process of corruption is important. As I mentioned just now, we have two sections in the Malaysian situation. All right. So according to Gary Ferguson, confiscating assets is important in the fight against corruption because of few reasons. It acts as both a sanction and deterrent. It cripples the wrongdoers as their assets and tools of misconduct are taken away. It restores the damage done to the victims. And lastly, asset recovery demonstrates accountability. Okay, so now what is the unexplained wealth order? It works on the basis of a mismatch between a person's assets and known sources of lawfully obtained income. There's no need for a criminal action or civil action to have been filed. With the unexplained wealth order, a person can be compelled to reveal their sources of unexplained wealth. And if they do not comply, their assets are presumed to be liable to civil recovery. So in UK, this unexplained wealth order is applicable to politically exposed person as well as to company if there is connection with the politically exposed person. All right. Now, when we look at the analysis and findings, there are challenges within the existing civil recovery or civil forfeiture which results in the introduction of the unexplained wealth order. For example, we have complicated modalities of money laundering, okay, where Arasu and Abdul Rahman 2018 contends that one of the major hindrances confronted by the authorities in both Malaysia and UK is the lack of evidence. All right. And secondly, evidence procurement. Okay, so here in federals, it is difficult to obtain evidence from another country if the money laundering involves more than one state because of the differences in terms of the laws, the legislation. And then weaknesses in the aspects of application and implementation, where Asfalillah Abdul Rahman 2020 mentioned the flaw in the existing forfeiture system in Malaysia, and she suggested a more efficient legal solution. So one of the solutions can be via the application of unexplained wealth order, where according to Freckleton 2020, these are the strengths of unexplained wealth order. There is a greater chance of success to the prosecution because the prosecution does not need to prove that the assets are the process of crime. The execution is not difficult as less evidence is required to justify applying to the court. The burden of proof lies on the respondent rather than the prosecution. However, there are challenges as regards to the application of unexplained wealth order. For example, we can see as regards trustees, where trustees cannot be subjected to the unexplained wealth order
Excuse me,
unless.
Dr.
Yes,
Abdul Rauf.
yes.
We're enjoying your presentation, but you have 2 minutes more.
All right. Okay. Trustees are not subject to the unexplained wealth order. There are also enforcement issues whereby the prosecution must be very careful, thus where they cannot encroach on the privacy, security, and tax mitigation of the respondent, as well as business risk. Business suffers if they are subject to risk of civil proceedings. And then if you look at the Malaysian position, Pandian 2018 states there are numerous apparent signs of unexplained wealth among politicians and public officials. And newspaper coverage in Malaysia also is filled with news on corruption. Whereby we can see, for example, 5th April 2021, it was reported that MACC report raided a house and alleged leader of a cartel that monopolized 3.8 ringgit Malaysia billion worth of government projects in which luxury cars, real estates were seized, and bank accounts also were frozen. So indeed, the extent of seized assets was sizable, which may give rise to doubt as to the origin of their fortune. Okay, so the recommendation, the offenders must face the consequence of their wrongdoing. The temptation for corrupt practices, that is the making of financial gain, must be removed. Thus, the unexplained wealth order would speed up the enforcement action. So as a conclusion, civil recovery action complement criminal prosecution in fighting corruption. The United Kingdom embarked on a new civil mechanism order in the form of the unexplained wealth order in 2018 because of the difficulties in pursuing a civil recovery order. So civil forfeiture provisions in Malaysia resemble the UK laws. Malaysia can follow suit by adopting and adapting, embedding the unexplained wealth order to suit the Malaysian requirements. All right, that's all from me. Thank you very much. Prof.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Abdul Rauf, for that presentation that seeks to protect the commonwealth from corrupt people. Thank you very much. So are there any immediate questions for her?
Prof, can I ask question?
Yes, you can ask.
Okay. Dr. Razina, very interesting. My question is, when you talk about forfeiture, in terms of corruption, ill-gotten wealth, what do you think in the perspective of applying the law that's being used for drug? For example, any offense under drug, there's a law that they be able to forfeiture, they be able to get back all the wealth relating to the activities of drug. Because I have seen that some of the commercial crime offenses actually do not really put a real enforcement. Therefore, some of these criminal, after sometimes they still have hidden some of the wealth somewhere. What do you think about in using the same law of drug and apply it to corruption?
Thank you, Dr. Rohana, for an interesting question. Thank you. Yes, actually, when we look at the civil forfeiture not only covers corruption, they cover serious crimes. So actually, initially, civil forfeiture covers drug matters. Okay, so they took it and embraced it for other serious crime matters. All right, so in a nutshell, we can use it, the unexplained wealth order for drug matters, because as we can see in Malaysia, in terms of the gathering of evidence, it's not easy to complement, to connect all the dots, in order to convict the drug addicts, or the drug pusher for that matter. Yes, that is a welcome suggestion. Thank you.
Okay, are there any other contributions or questions? You see, on this unexplained wealth order, it's I think you have argued that is an easier way you know, to simply convict anybody that has been accused, so to say. But one thing you didn't look at is that, you know, in parts in the developing world, it's possible for it to be used as a weapon of political victimization. That is by opposing parties. You know, that's one thing. What happens if the allegation is wrong? Did you find out in UK, where it is widely used, according to you, did you find out whether there are situations where people have been wrongfully accused, you know, of having unexplained wealth, so to say? Are there situations like that?
Okay, thank you, Prof. Emmanuel, for your question. All right, yes. As a matter of fact, in the UK, there are to date 5 cases on UWO, unexplained well order, and then they also exercise caution as regards to implement unexplained well order, because you know this is said to be an added investigatory tool. Okay, they cannot simply use this tool just to, you know, make sure the politicians, okay, succumbs to the law. All right, so what they need to do is that to ask the politician to justify, okay, why is their wealth does not commensurate with their income. So the politician will have to justify, we have to say out, yeah, we have to, you know, lay out, yeah, provide evidence that their assets are from legitimate source. So if they manage to rebut that, then they are not subject to further civil recovery proceedings. Okay, if they fail to do that only, then they are subject to further civil recovery proceeding. So in UK, last year, there was one case, National Crime Agency against Baker. So in that case, the National Crime Agency, the agency in UK, which is responsible, yeah, for corruption matters, yeah, they failed in their application, you know, to bring the application of unexplained well order against Mr. Baker, because it apparently shows that Mr. Baker did not possess the property, because, you know, they have to make sure when they use unexplained well order, the property is associated to the person being charged with the unexplained well order. Okay, and the property does not have to be his property. It can be someone else's property, but associate to him.
All right. If they did not bring the unexplained wealth order, but how do they compensate the individual for the initial wrong accusation? Because it will have become like public knowledge that the agency responsible for the unexplained wealth order is like investigating the person, so to say. It's just that at the end of the day, they did not bring anything against him. Can the person sue that for wrongful accusation and get compensation for such a wrong allegation ab initio?
Okay, thank you again for your question. Yes, I believe they can sue, because this is pursuant to the United Nations Conventions Against Corruption, okay, where the victims can sue, yeah, to get damages. All right, although it's not stated expressly, yeah, in the application for the unexplained well order, what it comes without saying, the redress is available. All right, just like, yeah, in the case of non-compliance with the, or if they lie to the authority, they can also be subject to a false, yeah, declaration. All right, so protection is available to them.
Okay, that means that in your recommendation then for the Malaysian system, all those other mitigations that the falsely accused can count on has to be included in the law if the unexplained wealth order is to be used in the Malaysian situation. You know, so whoever is wrongfully accused or wrongfully investigated can also get compensation for being wrongfully accused. That's very important. Else, in the developing world, you will have politicians, you know, using it against their opponents very often. You understand?
Yes, yes.
So in that recommendation to the Malaysian system, it's critical, you know, for the wrongfully accused to have compensation.
All right. Thank you very much for your suggestion.
Yeah, thank you very much. Are there any other contributions? Questions? Okay, if there's none, yes, we're on time to quickly take the last presentation. Oh, unless is the presenter of DCE 001 available now? Because we skipped a paper that the presenter was not available. Meanwhile, let's take LM002, the legal implications of a sale of property for the Malaysian developers under the private lease scheme in 2 mines. In 2 mines, okay, it's a question. All right, who's presenting?
Thank you, my name is Dr. Norazia Abu Bakar. I'll be the corresponding author and presenting the slides here for today. And I am with my learned friends, Associate Professor Dr. Rosita Azmi from University Utara Malaysia, and Associate Professor Dr. Azlinur Sufyan from College of Law, Prince Sultan's University, Riyadh, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and Associate Professor Dr. Hartini Saripan from Faculty of Law, University Technology Maram, Shah Alam, Malaysia.
Okay, good. Any of the international collaborators online?
I'm sorry, she's not able to be around in the session this evening. I will be representing my learned friends.
Okay, you can proceed.
Assalamualaikum, good day and to everyone. Today I'll be talking on the legal implications of a sale of property by the Malaysian developers under the private lease scheme in 2 mines. First of all, the abstract, this paper aims to evaluate the implication of a private lease scheme for property sale of property sale by the developer. It mainly relies on statutes and court cases as a primary sources of information. And for PLS, it is a selling of a lease, not a selling of ownership to the purchaser. The housing development, the housing development in Peninsular Malaysia is governed by the Housing Development Control and Licensing Act 1966, where the sale and purchase agreement is regulated under this act. Under Regulation 1989. However, in 2012, the industry, in 2012, the developer is trying a new way of selling houses. It is known as a private lease scheme. It was mooted in Johor for the sale of a lease to purchasers. Under the sale of lease, it is not a sale of the property, but it is a sale of lease to the purchaser, where in the end the purchaser will become merely as a lessee, not as the purchaser, not as the owner of the unit they are buying, despite they are purchasing at a high price. Relating to this concept of selling of lease, there are 2 cases that that discuss on this topic because the purchasers were not satisfied, and they went to court to claim their rights as owner of their units. Yeah, in Wong Hang 4 in 2000, it was filed in 2018 and was decided in 2020, and also in the case of Lotina and others against Kemuning Sdn Bhd that was decided in 2020. Wong Hang 4 is a sale of apartments, and Lotina is a sale of landed property. In both cases, the court decided that there was a misrepresentation against the to the purchasers by the developer. Why? Because they are not actually selling the unit. But despite using the regulated SPA under housing under regulation 1989, but what they are selling is only a sale of lease. And take note, yeah, this was not properly discussed. This was not properly this is not actually being told to the purchasers in greater details. Yeah? And in both cases, the court decided the developer has to retransfer the land or the landed property or the unit to the purchaser, and they must be able to become the registered proprietor of the unit, not as a lessee. Yeah. Furthermore, in Section 221, subsection 3 of the National Land Code, that is the primary law for land law in Malaysia. In Section 221, subsection 3, the maximum time allowed is only 30 years, not 90 years. Yeah. There are a lot of legal hurdle that the developer has to overcome. The existence of any collateral contract to exist alongside the SPA is a violation of the law that renders the contract to be void. There should be no waiver or modification, yeah, because the law says HDA or Housing Development Control and Licensing Act 1966 purposely say that the seller, that is the developer, has to sell the unit and has to transfer the ownership of the unit or the land to the purchasers, not selling any other scheme. Yeah. So even if the lease is registered, but they will still have some obstacles with regards to NLC, yeah? Because NLC specifically provides that there should be no creation of lease to more than one person. And when the developer is selling the whole unit, the whole building, more than one purchaser, and they are creating a lease, that means they are creating multiple of leases. Yeah. Let's Australian, the legal provision of the Australia. Yeah, they have PLS scheme that is known as leasehold scheme. Yeah, leasehold scheme, they provide a very detailed issue on provision on PLS, where it is not ownership of land, it is not a certificate of ownership, but it is a certificate of lease. That means they make it clear that, okay, you guys will be getting a lease, not an ownership of the land. Take note, yeah, when you have a lease, that means under the Australian law, they say that lease shall be expire. If it is a creation of lease over the whole building, say for example, 1,000 units of houses, all this building will expire. I mean, the leasehold tenure will expire at the same time. You guys, your property will depreciate in value. Because towards the end, the ownership of the land will go back to the registered proprietor. It could be the developer, or it could be the proprietor who owned the land, not these purchasers. And they know this fact quite well from day one, yeah, because it is already in the law. It is already provided in the law, yeah. And then this leasehold scheme is a form of strata subdivisions and all, yeah. It is carefully designed into their Strata Schemes Development Act 2015. Whereas we do not have that. In the Malaysian scenario, we do not have that. Yeah? The industry moves faster than the law. There is no law that provides for that.
Excuse me, Dr. Abubakar.
Yes, yes, I am.
You only have 2 minutes more.
Come again? 2 minutes. Okay, I'm finishing soon. As the conclusion, as the concept of PLS is new, when neither HDA, NLC or STA or Strata Titles Act or the National Land Code have provision to cater for PLS, it should be provided. It should be incorporated into these laws that relate to the sale of property by developer. And our recommendation that you have to somehow amend the laws and provide for this PLS scheme, then only it will be viable. With that, thank you for your attention.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Abubakar, for that presentation on something to streamline property development in Malaysia. You know, developers, they are all over the world. And if I, in the case of Nigeria, many people that are, or many institutions that are into development are not even professionals in the building industry or whatever. You know, sometimes they even operate outside the ethics of the professions and all that. Now, does anybody have questions for Dr. Abubakar? Okay, if there are no questions, I have one.
Sorry, Dr. Prof. Emmanuel.
Okay, okay.
It's a very interesting paper, Dr. Narazia. Just wonder what about the freehold? Did you study on the freehold properties that they are selling under freehold status?
Thank you for that question, Dr. Alia. What we are looking into, we are looking into the possibility of these people, of this developer selling a private lease scheme. That means they are not actually selling the unit, they are not selling ownership of the unit, be it like leasehold or freehold, but they are selling a lease. Meaning, in another word, if you purchase a house, say for example a landed property, if you purchase a house, it may be a freehold land, but what you are purchasing is the unit, is the building only. Because towards, say for example, towards the 90 years, towards the end of the expiry of 90 years, the property has to go back to the proprietor who owned the freehold land. And usually only freehold land can generate this type of sale. You are talking about the tenure of land. We are talking about the transaction.
I see, I see. Does that relate to the Malay reserve land that they want to sell to the non-Malays and they convert it into leasehold or something like that? Is that related to that?
Not really. We are talking about a freehold land being subdivided, and the developer will sell the lease. The developer will become the main lessee, and the purchasers will become sub-lessee of the unit. So that means they are just buying the unit, not buying the land. Kalau for landed property, if it is for landed property, they are buying the building saja, not the land itself. So the land will be freehold land.
Okay, I have a question. I just want a clarification. You know,
may I ask one question, Prof?
Okay, you can. Dr. Unga, continue. Okay,
Dr. Narazia, thank you very much. I like the word that you said that the industry is moving faster than law. If it's so, what is the implication? What is the consequences, and what actually being done by the certain parties regarding to the statement that you mentioned just now?
Thank you, Dr. Rohana, and thank you, Prof. The implication, I mean, the industry has started it. Started it in 2012. Where Maldini has started it in Johor, because they thought that in the process of selling this unit to foreigner, we can maintain the ownership, and the foreigner will only get the lease. That happened in 2012 already. And the two cases that I mentioned, the Wong Yang Hang Fo in Johor Bahru and Lotina in Penang, is the outcome of that industry punya when they move faster than the law. Yeah? In both cases, the court decided that the developer has misrepresented the purchases, and they even direct the developer to create a transfer in favor of all the purchases. Because as it is, the law is catering for transfer of ownership, not transfer of lease. That's what I was given a chance here to do a research by InSpan, yeah, and the NAPREC about this. I see it as a researcher, it is a good point. Because of course, when you are selling a private lease scheme, it will be much cheaper. It will be an alternative to buying ownership, but it must be properly regulated. Like what happened in Australia in 2015, and landed property in New Zealand has started at as early as 2002. They have regulated this type of sale, and we are moving towards that. If you realize the Gendarami style, I mean, when they set up community-based housing and sell to these people and do it on a wakaf base. That is the Gendarami and a few others. Yeah, it is interesting. It has been done, but until one day a scrupulous developer tried to take advantage, then you need to regulate all those. That is where the function of law.
Okay, I want how do you come into ownership of land in Malaysia?
In Malaysia, under the National Land Code, Prof. Thank you for that question, yeah, Prof. In Malaysia, when a developer decided to sell property, I merely talk about developer because most of the property sold in Malaysia is through developers, yeah. Because we would like to have a new house without the need to build houses. There is already built by the developer. So in Malaysia, the Housing Development Control and Licensing Act regulate, yeah, the act regulate a developer to make sure they give an undertaking to apply for subdivision of land. When these land are subdivided, they will then transfer all the unit to the purchaser. That means it is by using a prescribed form known as Form 14A. And
okay, hold on. Let me explain where I'm coming from.
What? Yes.
You know, in Nigeria,
yeah,
there's what's called the land use decree, whereby it is the state government or the state governor that releases land. So that means that practically speaking, except for family land, it is only family land that you have as freehold. That is indigenous family land.
Oh,
every other land is released by the state governor. In Malaysia, who owns freehold land?
In
that
Malaysia,
is the land that the developers will now be given the permission to subdivide.
In Malaysia, thank God to, thank you, we have adopted torrent system as early as 1902, and we have the law is already there in 1965, known as National Land Code, where before any alienation of land to anyone eligible under Section 43 of the National Land Code, all land is vested to the state authority. State authority will be the owner of land, but it is not for long, because in order to develop, they have to make sure that they alienate this land to those eligible under Section 43. They provide a few person, not a natural person, a registered company, a body registered under an act, and also a state government or federal government for that reason. Yeah, because in order to build school, it will be alienated to the federal government, Kementerian Pelajaran Malaysia. Or in order to build mosque, they have to alienate this to the state authority. So that's all. I mean, alienation is the process of transferring the land. So
Okay.
the developer is already the owner of the land, or sometimes they build for another party. So these people, the land must be alienated land, and it must be a surveyed land. That means it has been surveyed, and this land will then go through the process of subdivision of land, because they need to subdivide the big piece of land, need to be subdivided before the process of selling begins.
Okay. While talking about selling of lease, the certificate of lease and certificate of ownership, I never heard you talk about what we know as sublease. Is there any existence of sublease in the laws in Malaysia?
Come again, Prof.
Is there is lease
Link.
and there's lease. Certificate of lease.
Yeah.
Right? Then there's, you said in the Australian system, they have separated the certificate of lease from the certificate of ownership.
Yes.
Right. Is there anything called a sub-lease? Which is like, a sublease is like you have a lease and you are taking part of the lease for sale.
Prof, in Malaysia, under the National Land Code, we have 4 types of dealings. When you are the owner of the land, you can deal with the land according to these 4 types. Number 1 is you can transfer the land. That is a full disposal of the land to somebody you like, and in return you will get money. And then you can lease out your land. That is the soft lease you are talking. That is a dealing under the Malaysian land law. That means that's why whenever you want to, whenever a private lease scheme is introduced, they must comply with the soft lease ataupun the dealings under the National Land Code, which they have certain provisions that I mentioned just now. Maybe you can refer to my paper if you want to have a clearer provision on that. But it will be a dealings. A dealings is up to the party. It can be it must be more than 3 years. The lease created must be more than 3 years. It can be 4 years. It can be 5 years. Not necessarily 90 years. That's subject to rental.
Okay, Dr. Abubakar, thank you very much. I hope the presenter of DC 001, are they available?
No.
Okay, they are not available.
She will not be, yes, no, she will not be presenting.
All right, thank you very much for this breakout number 6. Are there any general comments or general questions or observations, as the case might be? Okay, if there's none, thank you very much for making this breakout session successful. It was a good mix of papers, and we had interesting discussions and interesting deliberations. So we look forward to seeing you the next time. Thank you very much.
Stay on, stay on.
Yeah, I'm on.
Stay on for the group photo.
All right, thank you very much, Professor Yusuf.
Thank you, Professor Babatunde, for chairing Breakout 3.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prof.
For having me.
Welcome.
Thank you, Adik. Thank you, Adik. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we shall now have another group photo before going for our break for today. But please, after this, there's another announcement. Just a soft reminder. And Prof, for photo session.
Okay, no photo, no certificate. Please switch on your lights.
No smile, no certificate.
Yeah, everyone has to smile.
Okay, please, your best smile for the day. I'm going to count from 1 to 1, okay? Ready? 1. Thank you. Another one for the next screen. Right, for the next screen. Your best smile for the day. 1. Right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Okay, please be back on Wednesday, August 4, 2021 at 8 p.m. Malaysian time for the keynote speech and best paper award announcement.
And also to those who have questions now, please stay on for a special Q&A session.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you to all the participants. Thank you to my co-MC, Kak Nick.
Okay.
Thank you to all participants too. Okay, bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank
for now.
you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Assalamualaikum.
Take care.
Thank
Congratulations.
you. Congratulations to the organizer.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Congrats.
August 4 August.
Thank you all.
Okay.
Thank you.
Please stay on for the Q&A.
Okay.
Yes, please stay on for the Q&A. So the floor is yours.
Right. Thank you again, Prof. Babatunde.
Yes, you're welcome.
So this is more of a housekeeping for the participants, actually, for any Q&A that they might have.
Okay.
You can stay on if you would like to join.
No problem. I'll just leave for now.
Right. Thank you.
I'll send you everything later.
Yeah, we'll keep in touch. Yes, thanks again.
All right. You're welcome.
Right. Okay, I'm giving the opportunity for those who might want to have any questions or queries. All have received their comments last night. Okay, and especially for the new participants, if you have any query, you can ask now. I'm giving you some time here if you wish to ask anything. For those who have not received their receipt, you shall be receiving it later tonight. Okay. Right. Any questions? Any hands?
Aslan.
Oh yeah. Okay, so I think that's answered my question already. Yeah. I was concerned about the research.
I've anticipated that. Right. Okay. Anything else? Oh, by the way, for the best paper award winners, I think there are 3 papers which are not in the run. So 31 minus 3, that is about what? 28. Yeah. So more chances of you to get for the best paper award winners. So stay tuned on the 24th because on the 4th, because one of the ruling is that you must attend the ceremony. If you do not attend, then you will not be in the running. Okay, so please attend the 4th. Of course, to hear from our keynote speaker as well. Right. Anything? If you do not have anything, then bye bye for today.
Prof, just wondering how many papers from FSPU this time?
That's one. Actually, I was counting the international ones.
Okay.
Okay. I'll WhatsApp to you. Yeah.
It's for okay, yeah. For FSPU, then you can request special for FSPU paper.
Yeah.
They're in the top 10, like before.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
Right. Thank you. Anyone else?
Prof, I'd like to ask, in the email that we have to submit the amendments by the 11th. Yes. So the amendment won't be counted for the score before the award or
for the score, we will base on the reviews. Okay. For publication, we will have a look whether
I see
amended.
Okay.
Actually, 2 different things. Thank you for the question. Yeah.
Okay. So for the amendment, we have to submit before 11th, is it?
Yes, because we're going to publish in the middle of August.
Okay. All right.
We do our work very fast actually. We cut down the red tapes and we cut down everything, and it's just that once you submit, we just publish, and we are, going forth for the next one. By the way, the next conference is already on, and I received a few abstracts already for the December conference. The venue is actually, I do not know where the venue is, but I've received the abstracts already.
Prof, for the December conference, the publication will be in 2022, right?
No, we try to do it in December. Sorry.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Sorry. Our conference on the 15th. I think it's still within this year. It's actually for the December issue, so it's going to be published latest by the 31st of December. So we need cooperation from all parties actually, because we cannot stop or we cannot wait for those who who can submit within the deadline, because we just have to move actually.
Yeah. Okay. Noted.
Yes.
Thank you, Prof.
Right. Thanks. Anyone else?
Okay, so again on the resubmission for amendment, do we have to submit directly to by the email conference or
Yeah, to the conference secretariat.
Okay, so email directly.
After that, after the conference, after the post conference, all query should be submitted to the other. I'll inform in the email. Okay. Okay. Sure. And for publication, you should forward it direct to the EI page to the publisher. I'll explain in the email. Our last email from the conference secretary. Okay. Okay. Right. Anything else?
So.
Okay, Prof.
Yep.
Yep. I'm from Zul from Kelantan.
Yeah.
Boleh makan wudu di Kelantan lah, Rakal, eh?
Interesting paper. Yeah. The wheelchair, is it?
Yeah, sorry.
The wheelchair paper, is it?
Yes, I'm.
Yes.
Thank you. Anyway, I would like to congratulate the organizer, because I think it's not easy to organize this kind of big and big. Yeah.
Actually, we prefer F2F. Actually.
Yeah.
Actually, we prefer face-to-face. We were lucky in March where we did in Bukit Tinggi, and that was the first and the last for this year. So far, we did F2F. Ada ramai yang pergi sana. Wow, really, it was wonderful. Yeah.
You managed to organize face-to-face.
Yes, in March. Yeah.
Wow, congratulations.
We got a special letter from Muhammadin, and we got it.
Yeah.
Macam baru lepas, so separuh buat family semua, nak keluar daripada penjaga. Thanks again, Dean.
Okay, so I hope that I could still contribute in the future papers and presentation.
Yes, please. Yes. Oh, by the way, I think looking at the trend, we are not getting much more paper from the built environment disciplines, but more are coming from the non-built environment disciplines. So that's why I need to cari potential ISC lah from me. We've got a few lawyers already in the International Committee, and also a few from the medical facilities. We are expanding actually, and sekarang ni I find it very difficult to ask our built environment per se punya ISC, because some of the papers I don't think they can handle. So that's why I'm bringing in. In fact, the last presenter is actually from the law faculty. Actually, she's already into our panel. So we'll be having a lot more from the non-built environment faculty.
Great, congratulations.
Alhamdulillah, syukur. Yes, thank you very
much. Become bigger.
Yeah, bigger.
Right. So thank you very much, Prof.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Just excuse yourself, yeah. Okay, bye.
Is that Zahra? I'm not sure if
Zahra. Prof, I have one question.
Right.
Hello.
Yes. Hello.
Yeah, I have one question. The one that we attended in Bukit Tinggi, and then I just submitted for the extended one. I wonder, for the extended one, when would that be published?
Yes, actually there is no deadline. There is no deadline. But the only issue that we have is that, as you know, we've got 4 international journals. We just cannot put any article to any of the journals. So we have to make sure that the articles, at least 5 articles, fit within the particular journal. That's why you are feeling the waiting list a bit long, because we do not have proper articles for that particular journal. Okay. So there is no deadline, and there is no lockdown for the journal. It's just that we need to make sure the journals, the articles are proper for the particular journal. So So you see in our latest journals, amongst the four, some are actually on time, but some have been delayed for the past 2 issues. The problem is that we do not have proper articles. That's all.
Oh, so you just wait then.
Yeah, you all just wait. But we will inform
Alright.
you once once you see the moment your article is published, we will inform you direct. It's from the publisher.
Okay, Prof.
Right? You were
Okay,
there.
thank you.
You were there at Bukit Tinggi. I tak perasan.
Yeah, I was there.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Right. Anything else? Anyone from anybody? I was looking for Zehra. I'm not sure whether Zehra is actually from Turkey. Zehra, are you there? No, it could be another Zehra. Okay, anyway. Right. Anyone? Anything anymore? Okay,
I would like to have secretary attention because my
who is that?
international co-author,
Azlan.
me, Azlan.
Okay,
Azlan,
Azlan.
yeah. My international co-author, the name misspelled a bit. Roger.
Can you
Roger
inform the conference secretary email?
Okay,
Email.
sure.
Okay, email.
Sure.
We will have another session masa 4th August though. We will have another session to kira general after announcing the best paper award. There will be some updates on future conferences, especially with contribution from the co-author from the international. So the next we are upping our ante, maknanya for the best paper award paper, future would be a co-presenter, maknanya co-international presenter. Maknanya ada 2 presenter. One each will be 5 minutes, 5 minutes. Okay? One is
dual.
Yes, duel. Kita buat duet.
Meaning that two at a time.
Maknanya 2 will be presenting at one time. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we just want to make it more the feel of the international to a bit more. Sekarang ni kita limit I mean we are giving the thing to the masa Q&A, okay? But I rasa masih tak mencapai lagi the internationalization of things. Jadi I rasa for future conferences that would be another criteria for the best paper award. Okay? So I think we are going on the right track, and we've got some cooperation from the international authors. Okay, and I think it's possible. Okay, regarding the different time zone too, I think there must be some sacrifice lah from their part. Okay, because there's the criteria. So how you do it's up to you. Okay. Jadi kalau different time zone dia tak dapat attend, then we cannot do much lah. Okay, but it's going to be the thing that we'll be looking into for 2022. But we will start that in the December conference. Maknanya duet presenter. The other international quarter must be together. Okay, right. Dah. Right, okay, it has been a long day. Thank you very much again to all. Nick, thank you very much. Adib, thank you very much. And to all participants, thank you very much. And also our Dean, thank you very much, Dean. Right, okay. Kalau tak ada apa-apa, kita sudahi dengan surah Al-As. Okay, Assalamualaikum. See you again next week.
Congratulations, bye.
Waalaikumsalam. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Terima kasih semua.
Thank you. Assalamualaikum.
Prof, apa-apa message saya, Prof Asad. Okay.
Yep. Keep in touch. Right.
Okay, Adik, bye. Okay, Azlan settle bye. Bye, Dr. Azila.
Thank you.
Ya, Dr. Nurlisa. Alamak, mana dia? Lama tak tengok. Okay, bye.
Bye. Assalamualaikum.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi. Tadi Prof cari Zehra tu. Ada Zehra tu.
Ya, dia tak mau jawab. Zehra?
Zehra makan ni kot.
Bukan.
Makan kentang.
Daerah Famagusta bukan ya?
Saya tak pasti. Famagusta ya dia?
Halo
Oh,
daerah.
tak ada.